Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. This morning I am out just past Boona with a sweet view looking towards Mt Maroon and Mount Barney. So I'm shooting at the moment with the panorama camera, the G617. I've loaded a roll of Velvia and I'm just looking out towards those mountains. So there's some nice cloud hanging around on the mountains on Mount Barney, a little bit on top of Mount Maroon. So I'm hoping to get some nice photos of that. We are getting pretty close to sunrise. It is only 10 minutes away. I was hoping to be shooting already, but it just didn't happen. So I'm just going to set this camera up somewhere where I can walk you through my process. I'm just going to take a couple of light meter readings. I did earlier, but the light has changed a bit. So shooting Velvia, we've got a very low dynamic range. So I'm going to measure the sky, the clouds, the fog. So I've got 3 stops difference between the sky and the foreground, which is good. So I've got a 3-stop graduated ND filter here, which should really help balance that exposure. Now, it's giving me 30 seconds at f32 for the foreground. I'm just going to look at my Velvia reciprocity chart here. So that now I need to give that an extra stop. So I need to give that a minute. So let's just get this camera set up. So I've already got my hyperfocal set. So I'm not shooting right at infinity, but I've got hyperfocal set. So everything from 3 meters, because there are a couple of trees, maybe 5 meters away, which may be in that. So from about 3 meters to infinity should be an acceptably sharp focus, especially at f32. So just gonna get my phone out for a stopwatch. And we need to go for a minute. So here we go. Got to cock the shutter. First frame for the morning. So I've got some nice fog in the valley here, which is really nice. The low cloud hanging around the mountains is pretty cool. I just wish there was some nice high cloud just to give it some interest up in the sky. Although I think there's not so much color around this morning because I think I'm looking sort of more towards, the southwest, but towards the east where the sun's rising, I'm quite sure there's a little bit of cloud there, so it's going to block a lot of that light. So it's not the best conditions, but it's not the worst. The fact that there's a little bit of cloud on those mountains should give it a little bit of interest. This is the second time I've been to this spot for sunrise. Came out a couple of weeks ago with Andy. We got a little bit of nice color in the sky. There's my exposure. A little bit of nice color in the sky, but we didn't have any, we had even less interest. There were no clouds on the mountains or anything. So hopefully at least I get a little bit better photograph. So I'm just going for a quick walk, just along the road a little bit more. There's not too much happening over there in terms of the sky, so I don't think I need to rush. But right now I've left my gear in my car back there, and I'm just going for a quick walk up the road here, just to see if there are any other compositions. It's a nice, cold, fresh morning, so just walking in the fresh air, it's just nice. Beautiful spot here. Just going to show you a little friend I just came across. Just seen this cow up here on the ridge, just enjoying some early morning breakfast. So I did bring a couple of different films with me today for potential use in the Hasselblad and the panorama camera. I've got the roll of Velvia, which is loaded, which I plan to shoot perhaps just all on the mountains. I've got a roll of Fuji Pro 400, and I've got a couple of rolls of Ektar with me. And I've got 2 rolls of Ilford black and white. But I did bring some options. I've got the Hasselblad with a couple of lenses, and I've got the GFX. Just come across this little view here, which I don't mind. Similar in terms of what you see, but I think there might be an interesting composition here. Perhaps even with the panorama camera, I might be able to utilize that fence in some foreground, maybe get the other mountains rather than Mount Barney and Mount Maroon. So I just ran all the way back to the camera from where I was. So I got some color. I got some pink in the clouds, going to a bit of orange now. I didn't record it, I'm sorry, I was just in too much of a hurry to get back. So I just did a stop less exposure. So I was getting a reading of 15 seconds. So with the reciprocity of Velvia, I exposed for 30 with the 3-stop filter in. So hopefully that should get a nice exposure. And then I might take the whole kit up to that little other spot. So I've got a couple of potential composition options here at this different spot. I'm just struggling to figure out which I like the most. I'd love to get something with these little yellow wildflowers. That may prove difficult with the panorama camera. Let me get creative for a second. So I might try and get the camera down lower. Hoping that by getting nice and low, I can get something cool. I can get a bunch of these wildflowers and the field in front of me and still get the mountains. I actually think that's a pretty cool composition. Because now we're you know, it's the last weekend of winter here in Queensland, so we're more or less spring weather already. On my drive out here this morning, it got to probably a minimum temperature of 5, so it's cold, but it's not ridiculous. Yeah, I think I like that. We've lost the best of the light because the sun is up, but the field in front of me is still in shadow, and with Velvia being quite a high contrast film, you might be able to display the contrast between the light that's hitting the mountain and parts of the valley and the shadows really well. And there's still a bit of yellow colour in the sky. It's not bright and vivid, but it might make a nice composition, and it is the last frame of Velvia I have. Let me just grab my meter and meter this scene. So my exposure is 8 seconds at f45, and with the Velvia reciprocity correction, that's 12 seconds. So I'm just going to do this exposure now. The breeze has died down a little bit. And there we have it, my last frame of Velvia for this morning. I didn't quite get the skies I'd hoped I'd get, but I did get some cool interest, so I'm pretty happy. It's interesting right now just looking out in the valley, just literally watching the mist lift. It's pretty cool. What a cracker of a morning. So I loaded up a roll of Fuji Pro 400 into the panorama camera. So I'm just going for another walk again, just to see if I can find anything that might make a fairly nice composition. Kind of hoping I may see some of those cows again. Otherwise I might think about packing up. But I've just been enjoying my time out here this morning. I'm just going to put this vlogging camera away for a minute and just take in what's around me. So I've got a scene here in front of me. It's really nice. I've got some lovely grove of trees, an individual tree over here and a tree sort of in the little valley. Got some sort of dead weeds in front of me, which I don't love, but you're in the country, so that's what you sort of get. So this is more or less my composition, as close as I can in a different aspect ratio. You've got this tree out here, this one over here. You can kind of see the grove of trees in the valley there, and just that mountain at the back with the sun above it. It's going to be a hard scene to shoot though, because the sun is directly above the hill. It'll be just out of my frame, I think, but it's very, very bright. If I adjust my composition slightly, I'll get another lone tree, and that should put the mountain almost in the middle, I think. So it should give us some reasonably nice balance. I just got to figure out metering. I'm using negative film, so it's got reasonable dynamic range. So I'm going to have to stop down. So I'm going to go for f32. I like to shoot small apertures on this. And it's going to give me everything from 3 meters to infinity. Okay, so just excuse me while I grab my phone to meter this scene. It's probably best just to meter for the grass. It's not dark shadows, but it's not super bright highlights. I'm getting 1/15 of a second. Just out of interest, if I look at the hill, I'm getting almost 1/30. So it's only a stop difference anyway. Go 1/30 because I'm already overexposing by a stop anyway. Then I have 1 frame left on this roll of Fuji Pro. So I found my last composition on this roll of Fuji Pro. I'm trying to get quite a lot of wildflowers in. There's an old dead tree or post or something, and some trees with some sunlight on them, and the trees along the ridge that follow the road. I'm getting a little bit of Mt Maroon in the right hand side of the frame, so hopefully Mt Maroon in the right and the big tree in the left keeps it a little bit balanced. I'm going to shoot at f45 at ½ a second, and the reason I'm shooting f45 is just to try and get that depth of field. So here we go. There we go. So that was my last frame on that roll of Fuji Pro. So in total, I've now shot 2 rolls of film this morning. I'm not sure if I will load any more film. If I see something nice, I've got some Ektar, and I've got some black and white, so I'll just keep an eye out and have a look, but we'll see what happens. So I've just stopped off in Boona. I'm on my way home. I didn't take any more photos. I did stop and saw a couple of things I did like, but probably not enough to load a new roll of film in if I was only going to take 1 or 2 shots. So I only shot using the G617 panorama camera today, which wasn't my intention originally, but I did kind of start to enjoy that challenge of limiting myself to one camera, 1 aspect ratio and 1 focal length. So it was both challenging but also relaxing. So I did really like using just the 1 camera, and I might do that again in the future, I think. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. I really do appreciate it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and ask me any questions, leave any feedback you have down below. I really enjoy comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I can't wait to see you again soon.